If agriculture goes wrong, nothing else will have a chance to go right. Chauntea is the goddess of agriculture, of life, and of the bounties of the earth. She is beloved by many names, including the Great Mother, the Grain Goddess, Goddess of Agriculture, Earth Mother, the Forest Mother, she who shapes all, Guardian of the wilds and the deeps, Keeper of the wild, Goddess of bountiful nature, the Mother of all flowers, and the Lady of the Harvest. Besides these, and among the Uthgar barbarians, she is also known as Grandmother. To the Rashemi, she is Bala. And finally, in the frozen wilderness of the Great Glacier, she is Palaruk. She is the embodiment of nurture and growth, of the flourishing of life, and of the bounties of the harvest. Chauntea appears as a giant, beautiful, middle-aged and brown-skinned woman, dressed barefoot in peasant clothing, with a pouch of seeds slung over one shoulder, and her face is stained with dirt. Wildflowers and ivy are woven into her long silver hair, and her body is strong, toned from farm labour. She bears about her an aura of kindness, of quiet strength, and of powerful femininity. The Earth Mother is said to be among the most ancient of all deities, born as the Earth was created by the primeval battles between Selûne the moon and Shah the night. But while Shah attempted to slay the newborn goddess, Selûne, she favoured the young mother of flowers by protecting her and blessing her, while aided by Mistra, the goddess of magic. And thus, Chauntea grew into a powerful being, worshipped in ancient Netheril as Janeth, who ran with the wild beasts across the untamed wilderness. Some people say that the Earth Mother created all of the mortal races and is the source of all life. But what is known for certain is that Chauntea fell in love with the mortal beings and began to aid them in cultivating plant life and in becoming guardians of the natural world. And although she is still worshipped in her untamed wild form by the people known as folk within the Moonshae Isles, across the rest of Faerun, she has passed on her domain over wild nature to Sylvanus, the Tree Father, and she is largely modernised in line with the needs of civilization. Chauntea is a wise, humble and quiet patron, epitomising all of the best aspects of man's relationship with nature. She devotes herself utterly to helping sentient beings to live off the land, while encouraging them to repair incidental damage to the environment and to live a peaceful, harmonious existence. The Earth Mother looks upon Selûne with grateful kindness, and she holds no grudge against Shah, for she is able to appreciate both darkness and light. She is also close to other nature deities such as Shialia, the goddess of fertility, and Mealiki, the goddess of forests. And while she has grown more distant over time from Sylvanus, she still regards the Tree Father in a positive light. Likewise, it is known that Chauntea and Lathander the Morning Lord are or were once at some time lovers. Yet her greatest enemy is Talona, the goddess of disease, for suffering is antithetical to the Earth Mother's aims. She is also in constant conflict with Talos the Destroyer, and Malar the Beast Lord, and with Bane the Tyrannical, for she opposes all of those who slay without reason, or who destroy and who desecrate the natural world. Chauntea dwells within the second layer of the realm of Aronia on the plain of Elysium. And there she works tirelessly within her domain, known as the Great Mother's Garden, planting handfuls of seeds and closing furrows with her bare feet. Each seed she plants must be planted at a specific time corresponding with the seasons and must be nurtured dutifully, for it represents the success of a harvest and the staving away of starvation for another year. Chauntea can see, hear, touch and smell within a range of 19 miles, and she can extend her senses to 20 different locations at once. She may sense or she may speak through any plant in a tilled field, and she is aware of anything that broadly affects agriculture up to 190 days before it happens, and she retains the sensation for 190 days after its occurrence as well. And finally, she may perceive anything within 19 miles of one of her worshippers, one of her holy sites, or indeed any location where one of her names or titles were spoken within the last hour. Chauntea is a greater deity, and her neutral good alignment represents her motherly patronage of living beings. Her clerics tend to adopt the nature or the life domain, and she offers them the chance to turn and to destroy undead. Her favoured weapon is a shock of grain, while the divine casters wield powerful scythes in battle, which follow the rules for an albert. And her holy time is sundown, when her casters pray for spells by drinking, by dancing, by eating, or by allowing their bare feet to sink deep into the freshly tilled earth. In short, by living as nature intended. Her followers are known as Chaunteans, and they come from all walks of life, favouring those who work away from the cities and who live in close proximity with the land. Hers is an egalitarian faith that accepts all races and all genders. Nonetheless, women tend to outnumber men among her worshippers, probably due to a sacred air afforded by her faithful to pregnancy and to menstruation. All Chaunteans are encouraged to feed the poor and the hungry, and it's said that any money given to her temples returns tenfold in charity. Followers are expected to plant seeds and cuttings and to tend them for as long as possible, and then to turn their waste into compost to enrich the soil. In addition to praying at sundown, many choose as well to rise early to greet the sun, and many will also say prayers when planting a seed, or pray to Chauntea for the sake of soldiers going to war, for she is regarded as a ward against disease. Fertility and abundance is a great part of Chauntean worship, with many wedded couples encouraged to spend their first night together in the open air of a field to ensure a fertile marriage. Needless use of fire and the clearing of land is discouraged, and if crops do become diseased, Chaunteans often tend to outsource the work of removing the afflicted plants to outsiders. The Chauntean concept of time is flowing, cyclical, and eternal, and they rarely mark one day above another except as it relates to the seasons. And as thus they celebrate the festival of green grass at the height of spring, as an hedonistic feast of drinking, of eating, and of dancing. A solemn, unofficial day of prayer to the Earth Mother also occurs sometime around high harvest tide, whenever the harvest begins, and it is known as the high prayers of the harvest. Clerical and druidic followers of Chauntea are collectively known as nurturers. but clerics who tend to villages, to cities and to established settlements are known as pastorals. While druids who eschew civilization somewhat haughtily call themselves true shapers, often believing that those who live in towns are upstart pretenders. Clergy, they speak of Chauntea as our mother, or as the mother of all. And they are well known for their willingness to get their hands dirty working the fields. Often they'll step into the shoes of those who are too ill to tend their own fields. Many Chauntean temples, they also will raise orphans, and they consider their duty to the community as a virtue of the highest order. The favoured multi-class of nurturers is the monk, as befits a simple ascetic life of honest labour. The vestments worn among true shapers are simple brown robes, while pastorals, they will wear a brown cloak over simple peasant clothes. Only particularly wealthy priests in large cities will wear ceremonial robes of white or of gold, trimmed by forest green, but nonetheless they shall walk supported by a worn natural staff that appears to have been plucked right off of the forest floor. An apprentice nurturer begins their journey as close one, before being ordained as watchful brother or sister of the earth, and then as true seed, as harvest master or harvest mistress, then as high harvest master or mistress, and finally the title of Onum is granted only to the most esteemed clergy. Her faith is to be found in all lands in some form or another, but she is officially recognised among the major faiths of Cormier, of the Dale lands, the Vast, the Great Dale, Thesk, Aglaron, Vilhon Reach, Arm, Tethia, the Moonshay Isles, Rashomon, and Tashalar. She also has a great many notable temples that oversee farmlands and aid in the life-given harvests, such as Goldenfield, also known as the Granary of the North, which is a giant walled abbey near Waterdeep, housing thousands. Also the Abbey of the Golden Sheaf in Mistledale within the Dale lands. The House of the Bountiful Harvest in Raven's Bluff in the Vast. The Golden Bowl of the Goddess in Erebor within the Sunset Vale. While the Temple of All Souls in Emrys, located in the border kingdoms between the Lake of Steam and the Shah, it prominently includes Chauntean worship. In Crimor within Arm, Chauntea's cradle cultivates many fruit orchards. In Arthen, within the Lake of Steam, the Bright Sheath is a wall garden temple. The Rose House is found in Perskell, Arm. Harvest House is located in Daggerford on the Sword Coast, and High Harvest Dome in Elturel within the Western Heartlands. Temples named Bounty of the Goddess can be found in Arkenbridge within the Dale lands and in Voonlar within the Moonsea. Temples named Harvest Hall are found in Wayloon, in Cormier, and within Arm. Those named House of Plenty are found in Shadowdale and the Dale lands, and in Masker's Eye within the Vast. The House of Sun and of Earth in Woody Glen within the High Forest is dedicated to Chauntea and Lathander both. An unnamed temple manned by druids can be found in the Misty Forest in the Western Heartlands. While within the Vast, the Temple of Chauntea in Hlintar offers magically protected vaults for the storage of valuables. And there's also a large temple to the Earth Mother in Easting in the Western Heartlands. Or finally, the temple to Chauntea in Shadowdale in the Dale lands actively assists in the security of the region. While Chauntea sponsors no formal military or knightly orders, the Sisters of the House are an all-female order of priestesses who tend the Harvest House in Arm. while a bountiful lady of the vast circle are a well-established though small druidic order who tend engers near Raven's Bluff and Dragon Falls within the vast. In my world, just like in real life, farmlands and those who work them are the foundation upon which civilization is built, and the pillars that hold up society. But the evolved story of the Earth Mother, well, that lies within the disintegrating relationship she has with her former lover Lathander, the Morning Lord. For you see, life is a series of cycles. So says she who shapes all. It is a time of feast and of fast, of surfeit and of famine. So in the wake of plagues, of war and of devastation, when the population of Faerun lay decimated, the silver lining was that with fewer mouths to feed, the greater the surplus from the harvest ended up becoming. And therefore with a little land, a few wise hands could ensure wealth and prosperity for all. So as the seed of the new society was planted, hearts and minds naturally turned the dawning visage of Lathander for his domain over rebirth and renewal, as Chauntea gladly fed into his meteoric rise to become the state religion of the emergent Cormyrian Empire. For indeed, with each back that need not any more break itself, labouring to work the soil for a subsistence living, therefore 2 idle hands were born that could then turn their grasp to craftsmanship, to the acquisition of knowledge, to specialisation and to broader opportunities that lay outside of the pastoral scene. Recognising the winds of change, the House of Montfort, now firmly upon the throne of Cormyr, well, they began to offer tax incentives for the forgiveness of debt paid out to those who could relocate themselves to ply their trade in urban centres. And therefore the towns, they grew into mighty cities, and the non-agrarian peasants, well, they became a middling class of wealthy merchants and of syndicated guildsmen, who quickly grew in affluence and power to form a mighty union of traders and guilds all across the Western Heartlands known as the Anseatic League, which, united, they wield a power which is close in political strength to the institution of feudal baronage itself. And yet, something in all of this, it sat not right with Chauntea, as she saw the world move onwards and upwards. But while the urban streets now seemed to be paved with gold, the skeleton crew still tended and leased the land from wealthy peers still paid for their existence by working the Lord's fields for pennies. So, for common farmers, very little had changed except that their once peers now formed a new class of robber barons who joined the nobility in breaking the backs of the farmers all for a cartload of grain. The Earth Mother, well, she saw clearly now that her uncritical belief in the natural cycles of rise and of fall were somewhat misguided. For in reality, when famine came, it was her people, the salt of the earth farmers, who paid the terrible price. And in times of feast, it was her people who were denied a seat at the table. So today, Lathander's chosen king, with the Morning Lord's crest set on his crown and upon his throne, he looks westward to deal with external threats. The demoniacal invasions of the Drow and the epistemological and cultural divisions between the old religions and the heretics of the Sunset Vale. These challenges occupy his mind fully, as he calls for greater grain yields to be given up to defend the empire. And, heeding his call, the druids emerged from their ancient glades to enrich the harvest. But what he, and indeed all of those who have grown distant from ground level labour, have failed to perceive is that the druidic faith is fundamentally heterodox, aligning with the interests of the earth above the interests of the man, while secretly the mother of the earth, well, she understands that those who work the earth hold society in the palm of their hands. For her hard-working farm folk need but look to the Hanseatic League for an example and for inspiration of how even lowly peasants may bring power to its knees by standing in union, together, strong. The natural philosophies of the Earth Mother speak as follows. Time is a never-ending cycle of growth and of harvest. And this is the most natural part of life. To destroy without cause and without taking time to rebuild is a crime against nature. Every day you must perform an act to cause life to flourish. Plant, nurture and tend life at every opportunity. Protect plant life and preserve their seeds to continue the cycle. Encouraging the fertility of the earth is your sworn duty, but remember that the fertility of the mortal womb must remain each woman's own choice. Avoid the use of fire whenever possible. And finally, plant a new seed or a small plant at least once every 10 days.